Subscribe to the MTL World at Malworld 1 YouTube channel. Novel, The Primordial Law. Volume 6, Battle for the True Inheritance. Chapter 60, 601, Shu Daoking and Qing Zijin. 60th of Volume 6. Translator, Shadow Knight AK. Editor, Shadow Knight AK. Li Wei and Qing Zijin, enveloped in spiritual light, flickered and immediately fled. After escaping to a rocky hill several miles away, they turned to look back. An ancient city gate materialized amidst the green ghost fire, its majestic silhouette rising grandly. Hordes of soldiers surged from within the gate, their bodies radiating deathly chi and their killing intent soaring to the heavens. Faint sounds of war drums and horns echoed through the air. Li Wei glanced at Qing Zijin and saw her face was deathly pale, her eyes wide with terror. "Captain, with your knowledge, what's happening here?" he asked. During the Ancient Kingdom's final war, the entire Void Ruins Ancient Kingdom was buried, claiming countless lives. The resentment of the fallen soldiers likely transformed them into resentful souls, slumbering beneath the earth until our earlier clash awakened them, Qing Zijin speculated. "I suspect this ancient city ruins might truly conceal a great secret," Li Wei said deliberately, hoping to provoke an unusual reaction from Qing Zijin, such as secretly signaling someone. Ever since hearing Nangong's revelation, Li Wei had sensed a change in Qing Zijin's demeanor. Her sincerity no longer felt as genuine as before. Yet he detected no hostility from her, leaving him torn between pain and confusion. He desperately wanted to confront her directly and demand the truth. However, Li Wei sympathized with the Immortal Haze sect's plight. If Qing Zijin wasn't too deeply entangled, he was willing to do everything in his power to pull her back. But the thought of confronting Luo Yinji, if that was her true identity, with his current cultivation level was far too dangerous. Qing Zijin replied, "Given our current situation, we can't afford to investigate further. Our only option is to find Nangong as quickly as possible and see if she'll be honest with us." Ignoring the risk of exposing their location and depleting his spiritual chi, Li Wei directly piloted the jade boat, flying low and at full speed toward the massive, luminous moon looming on the horizon. After 4 days of travel, they had already traversed tens of thousands of miles. Whenever his spiritual chi reserves dropped to half, Li Wei immediately stopped to replenish them, ensuring he never fell into a weakened state. On the distant horizon, the radiant light of the moon appeared even larger than the majestic mountains nearby, a testament to nature's awe-inspiring craftsmanship, a sight that seemed almost otherworldly. The moonlight was gentle, not at all harsh. The land and rivers lay half illuminated, casting long, distorted shadows. Perched atop a high mountain ridge with a panoramic view of the surrounding terrain, Li Wei replenished his spiritual chi while building a fire. He skewered a 4-foot-long chicken wing with the myriad manifestations staff spear and roasted it over the flames. The firewood crackled and popped. A concealment formation surrounded the fire. Qing Zijin stood nearby, blowing her spirit whistle in an attempt to contact the Shaoyang guard within a 1,000-mile radius. No response. Where could they all have gone? She sighed softly, turning to glance at the golden-brown chicken wing. Her willow leaf brows furrowed. "At a time like this, you're still thinking about food. I've been saving this immortal chicken wing that Luo Pingdan raised for 2 years. I couldn't bring myself to eat it. I wanted to share it with you, Captain," Li Wei said earnestly, flipping the wing over and over. Qing Zijin sat down beside him, her eternally melancholic eyes fixed on the flickering flames. "You know, I despise smooth-talking charmers, but when you say things like that, I don't mind it at all." "Do you know why?" "Why?" Li Wei asked calmly. "Because you do what you say, unlike those who say one thing and do another. Take this chicken wing, for example. If you'd said this 2 years ago, I wouldn't have believed a word of it. But you've kept it all this time, and that truly moves me. I refuse to believe you don't like eating it. Similarly, I completely trusted you during those 2 years you waited in the Netherworld domain of the heavenly capital river. Keeping your word is very charming. When words and actions align, it reveals a childlike sincerity that makes being around you incredibly comfortable." Li Wei knew he wasn't as sincere or endearing as she described, and his face flushed with shame, though the firelight concealed his embarrassment. "This 5,000-year-old millennial essence herb was harvested from the nether domain where I was recovering from my injuries." Qing Zijin's slender, jade-like fingers retrieved a medicine box containing millennial essence herb from her boundary pouch. "Are you trying to borrow the myriad manifestation staff spear?" Li Wei asked. "Didn't I already borrow it during those 2 months of cultivation at the top of Netherworld Mountain in Fanyi Valley?" Qing Zijin replied, "Consider this repayment." Li Wei stared into her icy eyes for a long moment before chuckling. "This is a 5,000-year-old essence herb. Our captain, always so stingy, suddenly being this generous. It's quite unsettling." "Take it or leave it," Qing Zijin retorted, tossing the medicine box at his feet. She turned away, gazing at the distant void ruins, her upper body silhouetted against the massive full moon like a serene painting. Li Wei picked up the medicine box and stowed it in his boundary pouch at his waist. "We're only a day's journey from Chun City now. It's the largest nether domain in the Void Ruins ancient kingdom, said to be shrouded in nether spiritual chi for 3,000 miles, making it the richest source of cultivation resources. The strongest cultivators from all factions will undoubtedly converge there. Qing Zijin interrupted his musing. Did you hear that? A spirit whistle. Someone's responding to me, asking who I am. Li Wei listened intently. If they understand our Shaoyang Guard's secret code, they're likely not from the Tai Yin sect. It's Taoist Shu. He wants to meet me, Qing Zijin replied after identifying herself, receiving a whistle in response. Li Wei was surprised and found himself in a dilemma. If Qing Zijin was compromised, Taoist Shu's arrival would mean facing two formidable enemies at once. However, High Envoy Jingjun, residing within Taoist Shu, had initiated this meeting. If Qing Zijin was truly compromised, she would inevitably reveal her true colors. This was an unparalleled opportunity to uncover Qing Zijin's true nature. Taoist Shu must be a master of divination. Why else would he arrive just as my chicken wings are ready? I really don't want to share. Sigh, don't tell him I'm here. Let's give him a surprise, Li Wei said. Shortly after Qing Zijin responded with her whistle, Taoist Shu's youthful, immortal-like figure descended on the mountain ridge, riding the wind. He carried a whisk and scanned the area. It seems Taoist Shu is genuine. He came alone, with no followers, Qing Zijin observed. Go greet him, Li Wei instructed. Obediently, Qing Zijin stepped out of the concealment formation and approached Shu Daoqing, who was still 100 zhang away. Li Wei retrieved the letter Yu Yaozi had given him, concealed it in his sleeve, and narrowed his eyes, scrutinizing Shu Daoqing's every subtle expression while sensing whether the two were communicating telepathically. Unfortunately, only Qing Zijin's back was visible, concealing her expression. Thank heavens. This is wonderful. Miss Qing, you're actually alive. Are you alone? Shu Daoqing's clear eyes rippled with emotion. Qing Zijin nodded slightly, remembering Li Wei's promise to give Taoist Shu a surprise. Shu Daoqing gazed at her with unwavering sincerity, pouring out his feelings. Miss Qing, do you know that Daoqing has been searching for you in the south these past days? There is no other woman in the world who could make me so anxious and worried. I don't quite understand what Taoist Shu is saying, Qing Zijin replied. Shu Daoqing stepped forward. Miss Qing, I know your background and why you always keep people at arm's length. Give me a chance. I can protect you, with my life if necessary. From the moment I first saw you, I knew you were the woman I had been waiting for. Qing Zijin hurried toward the concealment formation, her voice cold. Taoist Shu, you're being too forward. You feel like a stranger, completely different from before. Shu Daoqing pursued her. Perhaps love itself makes one lose reason, turning them into. Li Wei. Li Wei emerged from the concealment formation, holding a massive roasted chicken wing. He glanced at the young Taoist chasing after Qing Zijin and smiled. Taoist Shu, long time no see. The chicken wing steamed, its savory aroma filling the air. I'd say he's far from well, Qing Zijin said, stepping beside Li Wei and turning to glare warily at Shu Daoqing, her eyes icy. Li Wei explained, I'll tell you why. Taoist Shu is Tu Miango. Wouldn't his earlier words make much more sense if they came from Tu Miango? Moreover, I suspect Brother Jingjun isn't after you, Captain, but something else entirely. Li Wei was thinking of the Great Void Taishu worm. What could possibly compel the Great Void clan, who had remained hidden for millennia, to risk infiltrating the cave Void Dongshu camp? There must be something incredibly enticing. Qing Zijin looked utterly bewildered. Tu Miango. Jingjun. Why are you speaking in riddles I can't understand? Across from them, Shu Daoqing's expression had completely transformed, his eyes now radiating an eerie coldness beneath their deep shadows. Whoosh. Spiritual chi erupted from his body, coalescing into a violet glow. With a flick of his horsetail whisk, its white bristles transformed into countless razor-sharp strands that enveloped the pair. Swish. Swish. Li Wei had anticipated this. The heavenly sword talisman on his forehead unleashed a torrential rain of sword-shaped runes, shattering the whisk strands and forcing them to recoil. Impressive heavenly sword talisman, Shu Daoqing remarked, but at this close range, a martial mystic cultivator still holds the advantage. Enveloped in purple mist's protective aura, Shu Daoqing shot forward like a bolt of lightning. Before Li Wei could fully unleash the heavenly sword talisman, he had already closed the distance, his right hand forming a finger strike aimed at Li Wei's vital points. Spiritual light coalesced around Li Wei, forming a dazzling four-colored fiery armor. With psychic martial mystic fusion activated, he spread his palm wide and unleashed a full-force strike. Li Wei had studied ancient scriptures from Lingxiao Palace, discovering records about the Great Void clan. According to these scriptures, channeling spiritual light into a protective barrier could offer some resistance against the Great Void clan. Boom. The palm seal collided with the finger strike. Shu Daoqing's eyes widened in surprise as Li Wei's overwhelming palm force sent him staggering backward 3 steps. Undaunted, Shu Daoqing regained his footing and released a humanoid phantom from within his body. The spectral figure darted around Li Wei like a wraith, bypassing him entirely and charging straight toward Qing Zijin. Damn it! Li Wei realized he had made a catastrophic mistake. He had only intended to test Qing Zijin's identity, never considering the dire consequences if she wasn't Luo Yinji. The root of his error lay in his subconscious conviction that Qing Zijin was Luo Yinji. He had been searching for a question with the answer already in mind. Splat. The dense barrage of heavenly sword talismans tore Xu Daoqing's body into bloody fragments. Captain. Li Wei turned to chase after Qing Zijin, shouting in desperate warning, watch out. Blank. End of chapter. Subscribe to the MTL World at Malworld 1 YouTube channel. Novel. The Primordial Law. Volume 6. Battle for the True Inheritance. Chapter 61, 602, The Light Mist in the Shadow. 61st of Volume 6. Translator. Shadow Knight AK. Editor. Shadow Knight AK. The sudden turn of events caught Qing Zijin completely off guard. Before she could even ask what was happening, a humanoid figure of ethereal light materialized before her, its features blurred and nearly transparent. Like a shadow, it possessed no discernible substance and was neither gaseous nor solid. Yet the danger it posed was undeniably real. Stunned and pale, Qing Zijin instinctively raised her slender, jade-white wrist. Her blue sleeve slid down, revealing a bracelet of over a dozen neonly stars strung together like lustrous pearls. Whoosh. Boom. As she frantically channeled a wisp of spiritual light into the bracelet, the secret script on the neonly star's surfaces dissolved, unleashing a blinding burst of spiritual light. The light erupted like 1,000 sharp arrows. From afar, the mountain peak appeared to have birthed a true star, its radiant glow visible for hundreds of miles, flickering like a beacon. The humanoid figure of ethereal light emitted a low, pained groan as the bracelet's intense spiritual light sent it crashing down the mountainside. A horrified, disembodied voice echoed, "A Holy Spirit King. The starry sky of spiritual power." Li Wei, having returned in pursuit, glanced at the still shaken Qing Zijin, who remained dazed and disoriented. With a powerful leap, he plunged down the mountainside, chasing after the retreating figure of ethereal light. With a sweeping gesture, Li Wei unleashed a massive handprint formed from immortal haze radiant spiritual qi, which descended like a thunderous cloud. The humanoid phantom hovered in midair, quickly stabilizing its form and raising its arms to the heavens. Ripples of semi-transparent energy radiated outward from its body. Instantly, the spiritual qi Li Wei had unleashed was continuously absorbed by the phantom. The massive hand seal disintegrated into wisps of rosy mist, losing all offensive power. Li Wei felt a chill run down his spine. He had never encountered such a bizarre creature. The records of the Lingxiao Palace stated that the Great Void clan possessed no physical bodies, instead specializing in attacking and devouring cultivators, soul spirits and consciousness, converting them into their own cultivation power. Ordinary spiritual artifact battle armor and protective spiritual qi were utterly ineffective against them. Once they invaded a body, only martial mystic cultivators with cultivation levels several times higher could repel or destroy them using battle technique intent. They were impossible to defend against, making them exceptionally dangerous. However, the Great Void clan also had weaknesses. To launch physical attacks, they needed to possess a host body, through which they could then wield Dao techniques. Furthermore, martial mystic cultivators with unwavering willpower and those who had cultivated special battle technique intent could resist their defenses. The Great Void clan's ability to absorb and dissolve spiritual qi into nothingness far exceeded Li Wei's expectations. No wonder their protective spiritual qi couldn't stop them from invading his physical body. Li Wei, you destroyed my third immortal realm peak physical vessel. Now you must compensate with your own body. The humanoid spiritual light's voice shifted between Xu Daoqing's, two Miangos, and a woman's, suggesting the Great Void clan had no fixed gender. The spiritual light rapidly contracted into a fist-sized orb of intense radiance, then shot toward Li Wei's chest like a spear. It doubted Li Wei's psychic power, even when condensed into spiritual light armor, could withstand its assault. Li Wei retreated swiftly, conjuring 108 thunder annihilation formations to bombard the orb. Undaunted by the thunder and lightning, the light orb pierced through the barrage and closed in on him. Using the Yellow Dragon Ascending to Heaven technique, Li Wei narrowly evaded the orb, refusing to let the Great Void clan get close. He wasn't entirely confident his spiritual light armor could withstand Jingzhen's attacks, especially given his early Second Realm Holy Spiritual Master cultivation, while Xu Daoqing, a third Immortal Realm Peak cultivator, had met his demise. I refuse to believe there's no power in this world that can restrain the Great Void clan. Standing mid-air atop Immortal Haze radiance, Li Wei unleashed a golden Buddhist Dao imprint, striking at the light orb surging upward from below. Li Wei had thought of using this technique because Tang Wanzhou had once told him that gazing at the Buddhist Dao imprint on the stone wall felt like being drawn into a vortex, her consciousness on the verge of being shattered. No matter how enigmatic the Great Void clan might be, they must possess consciousness. Within the glowing orb, Jingjun sensed the Buddhist Tao imprint's mysterious power, which caused him unbearable discomfort. His consciousness reeled, and he dared not touch it, immediately dodging to the right. It seems the Shaoyang division's most promising heavenly pride isn't Tang Wanzhou, but you, Li Wei. Once I find a stronger vessel, killing you will become my top priority. The glowing orb crashed into the ground and vanished. Boom. The Buddhist Tao imprint followed closely behind, slamming into the ground and carving a massive Buddhist Tao imprint-shaped crater several meters long. The golden light within the crater lingered for a long time. Li Wei immediately unleashed his psychic power to probe the area, but Jingjun had already vanished without a trace. The Great Void Clan were inherently difficult to detect and lock onto. Worried that Jingjun might attack Qing Zijin again, Li Wei turned to rush back to the mountain peak. But Qing Zijin had already activated the Nianli star on her wrist and swiftly arrived behind him, ready to lend her aid. Where is he? She asked. Li Wei probed the ground again, then shrugged. He got away. What exactly happened? Qing Zijin's eyes blazed with fury, realizing Li Wei had known Shu Daoqing's true identity all along but deliberately concealed it from her. Guilt gnawed at Li Wei's conscience. He avoided her burning gaze as he retreated toward the mountain peak, explaining the situation over his shoulder. The radiant glow of the Nianli star on Qing Zijin's wrist faded. Her long skirt billowed as she hurried after him. He's the High Envoy. You knew he was a spy, a member of the Great Void Clan, and extremely dangerous, yet you sent me to meet him alone without warning me beforehand. Do you realize how dangerous that was? What were you thinking? Reaching the mountain peak, Li Wei retrieved all the Heaven Sword talisman paper scattered on the ground, absorbing them back into his forehead. With the aid of these talismans, even Jingjun, wielding Shu Daoqing's powerful cultivation base, had been forced into retreat during their earlier clash. The ground was littered with fragments of flesh and blood. Shu Daoqing's golden skeleton remained relatively intact. His ancestral field, wind mansion, qi-si, and cosmic pouch had all been shattered and annihilated in the spatial void, a loss Li Wei secretly lamented. Qing Zijin stood gracefully in the blood-tinged, frigid wind, her sleeves fluttering like wings. Her gaze, filled with a mix of sorrow and understanding, fixed on Li Wei's silent back as she murmured to herself, I understand now. You suspect me, you're testing me, aren't you? You think I'm a spy for the Taiyan sect too. Li Wei didn't dare turn to face her, but he could imagine the look in her eyes. He knew that, given her temperament, they were now on the brink of a complete rift. There was no avoiding it. He retrieved the myriad manifestation staff spear, which he had hastily thrown into his cosmic pouch earlier. Holding up the massive chicken wing, he approached her and extended it toward her delicate nose. It's still warm. Smell it, the aroma of Immortal Realm chicken is completely different. Qing Zijin's eyes glistened with tears, brimming with resentment. She turned and strode away, her voice cold as ice. If you've lost your trust in me, let's not travel together anymore. This constant suspicion is painful for both of us. Where are you going? Li Wei called after her. Qing Zijin didn't reply, already activating her body technique to descend the mountain. A moment later, Li Wei caught up to her like a wisp of green smoke, blocking her path. Before she could react, he said, First, I agree that if two people can't trust each other, they shouldn't force themselves to travel together. But something's happened. Look at your shadow. Qing Zijin stubbornly refused to look, but after a moment, she glanced at her shadow, stretched long by the moonlight. Within the shadow, wisps of luminous mist began to materialize. She waved her hand, but the mist wouldn't disperse. Activating the Nianli starlight on her wrist only slowly dissipated the mist. It would take at least a day or two to completely dispel it. She turned to Li Wei's shadow. I have it too. This must be Jingzhen's doing. With this luminous mist in our shadows, he can track us even if we flee 10,000 miles away. The Great Void Clan's methods defy all logic and comprehension. Li Wei had already tried various methods, but none could do more than slowly refine the mist. Qing Zijin said, It doesn't matter. I'm the wicked daughter of the Taiyan sect anyway, so I have nothing to fear. If you want to escape, you'd better hurry. The Taiyan sect likely has secret communication artifacts, and Jingjun might already be summoning a large force of experts to kill you. If you don't leave now, it'll be too late. Forced into a corner, Li Wei resorted to his trump card. Captain, do you know why I've been suspicious of you, and what I've been suspicious of? Qing Zijin didn't want to hear a word of it and turned her back to him. Someone told me your relationship with Shu Daoqing is ambiguous, and that you've been meeting him in secret, Li Wei said. Qing Zijin instantly flew into a rage, her face flushed with anger and shame. What nonsense are you spouting? This time, Li Wei turned to face her sideways. I didn't believe it at first, but Shu Daoqing's passionate words earlier didn't sound like he was saying them for the first time. I figured if your relationship was truly extraordinary, you'd fight me to the death if I attacked him. And if Shu Daoqing pulled another self-inflicted injury act, I'd have no way to defend myself. Qing Zijin covered her ears with both hands, bit her lip, and stomped her foot. You're driving me mad. Who's spreading these lies? Making up stories out of thin air. Nangong, Li Wei replied. Qing Zijin was stunned. Li Wei, are you playing me again? Dare we confront each other face to face, all three of us? Why wouldn't I dare? After all, Nangong owed Li Wei 2 favors. Li Wei immediately added, but first, we need to survive the journey to Chun City and find her. The road ahead will be fraught with danger. Only by working together can we hope to make it through. Qing Zijin's attention was drawn to the Chun City expedition, temporarily forgetting her earlier anger. She considered the situation seriously. Jingjun must know we're heading to Chun City. He'll likely gather a large force of experts to ambush us along the way. Moreover, the Taiyin sect is cunning and adept at using others as pawns, turning their enemy's own strength against them. It's highly likely they'll reveal your whereabouts to the Demon Kingdom, the Rice Palace, the Demon Race, and all those who harbor deep-seated hatred for you. They might even exaggerate the threat you pose by breaking through to Immortal Realm, despite your already terrifying martial mystic prowess. Remember, not every martial mystic cultivator is as easily swayed as Yu Baoyuan and Yu Shui. Li Wei countered, but there's an advantage to this. Which top expert from any faction wouldn't want to slay Chu Yudian, achieve legendary fame, and earn the adoration and respect of all martial mystic cultivators? As long as they can keep Chu Yudian occupied, I'm not particularly worried about the Taiyin sect's remaining Taiyin envoys. Qing Zijin knew Li Wei had every right to say that. She asked, have you heard of Jiyu Junxiang? The Demon Kingdom's new #1 scholar. How could I not? Rumor has it that after reaching the Dao Seed realm, he didn't cultivate great techniques but instead focused on imperial techniques. Before breaking through to the Immortal Realm, he had already mastered the 3rd layer of imperial techniques. His current cultivation level must be unimaginably profound. Li Wei added, there's also the legend that he's the reincarnation of the martial mystic Dao Heavenly Emperor, born with imperial majesty that compels all living beings within a 100-mile radius to kneel. The tales surrounding him are nothing short of mythical. Blank. End of chapter. Subscribe to the MTL World at Malworld 1 YouTube channel. Novel. The Primordial Law. Volume 6. Battle for the True Inheritance. Chapter 62, 603, Facing Death to Find Life. 62nd of Volume 6. Translator. Shadow Knight AK. Editor. Shadow Knight AK. In Qing Zijin's captivating eyes, memories and awe surfaced. It's not a rumor, it's true. Years ago, I saw him once, and the impression remains indelible. His imperial aura was overwhelming, his gaze sweeping across the world with disdain. The rest of the younger generation clustered around him like subjects guarding their sovereign. Even the heaven's chosen daughters, talented women, and noble ladies of Xiaoyao capital gathered like concubines, awaiting his selection. This man. He doesn't seem to belong to the mortal realm. And what about me? Li Wei asked. Qing Zijin glanced at the roasted wing still in his hand. You belong to the mortal realm. Besides, if Jiyu Junxiang comes to the Void Ruins ancient kingdom, Chu Yudian will likely avoid his edge, unable to act with impunity. Curiosity stirred within Li Wei. From Qing Zijin's description, her encounter with Jiyu Junxiang seemed to have occurred at a grand gathering in Xiaoyao capital. How had she come to be at such an event? Suppressing his curiosity for the moment, Li Wei declared, let's charge straight into Chun City. If I push the jade boat to its limits, regardless of spiritual qi consumption, we can reach it in half a day with just 2 qi replenishments. The nether spirit qi within Chun City will weaken their perception, making it much harder for Jingjun to track us. At the same time, any major mobilization by the Tai Yin sect will surely alert the Holy Commander and Nangong, who will come to our aid. If we flee in another direction, we'll be completely on our own. Moreover, Chu Yudian, now unburdened by any restraint, might personally hunt us down. Qing Zijin countered, but that would expose us completely. The jade boat would become a prime target for enemies lurking in the shadows. Li Wei pointed to the luminous mist within the shadows. We have few options left. Rather than fleeing in disarray, let's confront our fate head-on and advance toward the Void Ruins. We fear the Tai Yin sect, but they fear our potential to ignite a grand spectacle. They prefer operating in the shadows and thrive on our fear. Qing Zijin was once again persuaded, her earlier resentment vanishing without a trace. The jade boat streaked across the sky like a shooting star, hurtling toward the vast expanse of the Void Ruins below. Li Wei stood at the bow, clutching a spiritual crystal in one hand and a psychic power star in the other, channeling his full power into propelling the vessel. Despite his outwardly calm demeanor, he was inwardly wrestling with strategies. Qing Zijin released all 13 battle corpse puppets, extending her psychic power to survey the surrounding terrain. A thrill of excitement surged through her. Before this moment, she would never have dared to unleash her senses so boldly. I've already condensed 19 psychic power stars, she announced suddenly. Li Wei replied, with the Holy Spirit King's psychic power stars aiding you, such rapid cultivation progress is no surprise. What about your martial mystic path realm? Nothing remarkable, the 3rd heaven of the Dao Seed realm. I haven't condensed a Dao Lotus yet, Qing Zijin said, are you still suspicious? Do you think I'm hiding my martial mystic path cultivation like Nangong? Li Wei evaded the question, turning his gaze to the mummified corpses lining the deck. If we could refine battle souls and battle spirits within these battle corpse puppets, granting them combat consciousness, and equip them with spiritual artifacts, their combat power would increase dramatically. Moreover, we'd no longer need to worry about enemies disrupting our connection with the puppets using their spiritual qi. Qing Zijin scoffed. Don't even think about it. Once we leave the Void Ruins ancient kingdom, all the corpses must be returned. There are martial mystic cultivators moving rapidly on the ground to the left and right. How did they get here so quickly? Li Wei glanced down and quickly recognized the lithe figure racing across the mountainous terrain to the left as Chen envoy Qingzhao. Her melodious laughter carried clearly on the wind from hundreds of feet below, reaching Li Wei's ears. After receiving Jingzhen's talisman, I expected you to flee immediately. Instead, you've chosen to walk right into our trap. Don't you know how deep the waters run in Chun City? Even your Shaoyang division's holy commander was fatally wounded and died. Li Wei's heart skipped a beat, but he quickly regained his composure, refusing to be swayed by her words. If Tang Wanzhou had been killed, Jingzhen would have already revealed it to shatter his fighting spirit. To the right, a red-armored knight wielding a long blade rode a dragon elephant. The crimson armor blazed as the dragon elephant charged forward. Beneath the armor was a bone marquee, its entire body covered in sharp, golden bone spikes. Li Wei turned to look behind the jade boat. On the horizon behind them, dark cyan ghost chi billowed like a dense, all-encompassing mist, blotting out the sky. Within this swirling miasma, 7 or 8 ghost marquee figures soared in pursuit, their forms indistinct within the swirling darkness. That's Fire Cloud Marquee, Qing Zijin explained, her voice tight with concern. His cultivation reached the peak of the Third Immortal Realm a decade ago. His mount is a Dragon Elephant Corpse Marquee, also at the Third Immortal Realm. With their combined might, even a Tai Yin envoy at the peak of the Third Immortal Realm would struggle to defeat them. Her face was etched with worry, clearly shaken by Qingzhao's earlier words. Chun City no longer seemed like a beacon of victory, but rather a terrifying abyss. Such immense pressure. Li Wei exclaimed, the myriad inscriptions artifact has been activated, unleashing its primordial power. He spotted the yin yang gong hurtling toward them, but couldn't discern the martial mystic cultivator wielding the myriad inscriptions artifact. The yin yang gong, now the size of a millstone and forged from bronze, shed thousands of scriptures that spun rapidly like a cyan moon, vying for dominance against the distant void ruins. Li Wei immediately steered the jade boat into a steep dive, narrowly avoiding the yin-yang gong's initial strike. With a piercing shriek, the yin-yang gong arced through the air in a graceful curve, doubling back in pursuit, its speed more than twice that of the jade boat. Li Wei's eyes turned icy. He abruptly steered the jade boat directly toward Qingzhao. The distance closed rapidly. Just as the jade boat and Qingzhao were about to collide, the yin-yang gong abruptly changed direction, soaring overhead with a deafening, shattering roar. Its force tore through the jade boat's defensive formation barrier. Boom. Confident in his superior cultivation, Qingzhao didn't bother to evade. She raised her palm and unleashed a triple immortal scripture barrier, halting the jade boat's advance. Her own figure recoiled only a few dozen feet. Aboard the jade boat, the 4 great immortal battle corpse puppets had already activated the purple heaven thunder seal. Crackling. A tidal wave of violet lightning surged toward Qingzhao. Having already experienced the purple heaven thunder seal's power, Qingzhao was well prepared. She ducked low, sidestepped 3 steps to evade the lightning, and with astonishing speed, leapt onto the jade boat. With a swift slash of her sword, a sword radiance enveloped both Li Wei and Qing Zijin. Li Wei was no longer the same as before. His figure flickered like azure mist, and the yellow dragon sword clashed against Qingzhao's needle-rained sword, blocking her attack. A flicker of surprise crossed Qingzhao's eyes. She hadn't expected Li Wei to be so fast and skilled with the sword, a complete transformation from their previous encounter. Channeling her spiritual qi, Qingzhao flicked her wrist. Sizzle boom. The blades of their swords clashed, sending sparks flying as sword qi surged and energy ripples intensified, culminating in a violent explosion. Li Wei was sent hurtling off the jade boat by Qingzhao's full power strike. Qingzhao's sword momentum faltered, and in that brief delay, she was struck by a bolt of lightning from the purple heaven thunder seal. Profound formation scriptures materialized across her body, blocking the lightning, and her lithe form was flung backward in another direction. Li Wei, Qingzhao, Qing Zijin, and the 13 corpses on the jade boat now stood in a triangular formation. Qing Zijin remained on the jade boat, using it as a fortress. By controlling the 13 corpses to activate the purple heaven thunder seal, she could unleash its full combat potential. Xiao Li, your cultivation has advanced so remarkably during your 2 years of training in the nether domain. Sister Qing is truly impressed. The purple lightning around Qingzhao gradually dissipated, leaving her physical body unharmed. Li Wei chuckled. This is nothing. Is that a formation flag you're wearing, Sister Qing? Did I ruin your clothes last time? Qingzhao showed no irritation, her voice sweet as honey. Exactly. It's one of the 8 formation flags controlled by Baichuan. I've wrapped it around myself specifically to block the purple heaven thunder seal's lightning. Whoosh. Above the 4 battle corpse puppets on the jade boat, the purple heaven thunder seal unleashed another torrent of lightning. Qingzhao narrowed her eyes, unleashing her movement Dao technique as she surged toward Li Weiyi with a speed that Qing Zijin struggled to track. Sizzle. Sizzle. A 4-colored spiritual light armor materialized around Li Weiyi as he met Qingzhao's charge. Both masters of the sword, their figures blurred into countless afterimages as their blades clashed in a deadly dance. Each strike carried lethal intent, and they unleashed a barrage of Dao techniques. In the span of just 2 breaths, they exchanged dozens of sword strikes. Li Weiyi retreated 4 steps, creating distance as the heavenly sword talisman between his brows erupted into a storm of talismans, raining down on Qingzhao from all directions. Qingzhao pressed herself flat against the ground, rapidly backpedaling as she struck the hilt of her needle-rained sword with a palm strike. Swish. Swish. The sword shattered into a dense rain of needles, colliding with the overwhelming talisman rain. Qingzhao's beautiful face was now grim with concentration. She hadn't anticipated Li Weiyi's combat prowess after achieving martial spiritual unity. She also recognized Li Weiyi's strategy, to capture her as a hostage before the Fire Cloud Marquis and his forces could surround them. Such audacity was utterly reckless, bordering on madness. Fortunately, Qing Zijin, who was controlling the Purple Heaven Thunder Seal, was restrained by the Yin-Yang Gong. Otherwise, Qingzhao would have suspected she had already suffered a setback due to underestimating her opponent. Li Weiyi pursued closely behind the heavenly sword talisman, charging rapidly toward Qingzhao. He could already hear the dragon elephant mount's thunderous roar. The blazing flame spiritual qi unleashed by the Fire Cloud Marquis swept across several miles, engulfing him in flames. Xiao Li, you've become so strong. Your sister can only avoid your sharp edge for now. Qingzhao still believed her combat prowess surpassed Li Weiyi's, having made significant progress in the past 2 years. However, a direct confrontation would be unwise. Encirclement was the key to defeating his enemy. The boy had too many hidden tricks up his sleeve, and Qingzhao wasn't willing to take the risk. Even summoning the dragon soul from his governor's official robe would likely nullify her advantage and plunge her into a perilous situation. While deflecting the heavenly sword talisman, Qingzhao retreated swiftly. Li Weiyi noticed the increasing distance between himself and the jade boat, realizing Qingzhao intended to separate him from Qing Zijin and eliminate them one by one. He immediately recalled the heavenly sword talisman and raced back at full speed. However, Qingzhao's superior movement speed made him impossible to catch. Boom. Rumble. The ground trembled as the dragon elephant corpse Marquis, with its elephantine body and draconic head, reared its scaled neck. It unleashed a torrent of karmic fire from its maw, the green flames coalescing into a fiery waterfall that blocked Li Weiyi's retreat. Perched atop the dragon elephant corpse Marquis, the fire cloud Marquis roared, his body erupting in crimson flames. He raised his long saber and slashed downward, the blade's Dao radiating domineering and lethal intent. The two forces coordinated flawlessly, one attack with a wide area of effect, the other with concentrated power, one surging from the ground, the other descending from above. Ow! The white mist dragon soul erupted from Li Weiyi's governor's official robe, colliding head-on with the karmic fire spewed by the dragon elephant corpse Marquis. Li Weiyi swung his sword, clashing with the fiery blades Dao descending from above. Qingzhao, who had been fleeing earlier, now pursued from behind, grinning. Xiao Li, Baichuan's gone to snatch your lover. Li Weiyi indeed spotted Baichuan's figure, the one wielding the yin-yang gong. Faced with a 3-pronged attack from these formidable opponents, Li Weiyi couldn't afford a moment's distraction. He banished all extraneous thoughts, leapt onto the dragon soul's back, and charged forward, aiming to break through the fire cloud Marquis's blockade. Blank. End of chapter. Subscribe to the MTL World at Malworld 1 YouTube channel. Novel. The Primordial Law. Volume 6. Battle for the True Inheritance. Chapter 63, 604 Capturing Qingzhao. 63rd of Volume 6. Translator. Shadow Knight AK. Editor. Shadow Knight AK. With Li Weiyi's current martial mystic Dao cultivation, the Heavenly Emperor's dragon soul he summoned possessed combat power that far surpassed even the peak of the third immortal realm. Its body crackled with wind thunder as its serpentine form writhed and twisted, tearing through the raging karmic fire. The massive dragon head reared back, jaws agape to reveal rows of razor-sharp teeth, glaring down at the dragon elephant corpse Marquis below. A heavenly emperor dragon's roar erupted from its throat, shaking the very heavens. The dragon elephant corpse Marquis recoiled 2 steps under the dragon's overwhelming might, its earlier ferocity completely extinguished. Tai Si opening technique. Li Weiyi burst forth from atop the white mist dragon soul, channeling his psychic power and martial mystic powers into a single, unified strike. He raised his sword overhead, his body radiating a dazzling 4-colored aura. A fundamental law of heaven and earth resonated perfectly with this strike. Instantly, a miraculous scene unfolded. Shimmering azure waves surged forth, the roar of crashing tides enveloping the fire cloud marquis and the dragon elephant corpse marquis. At this moment, Li Weiyi's battle intent reached an unprecedented peak. His gaze burned like molten gold as he cleaved through the azure sea with his sword. Splash! The dragon elephant corpse marquis's pillar-thick elephantine legs retreated violently, each step sinking deep into the ground. Terrified by the combined power of the Heavenly Emperor's dragon soul and Li Weiyi, the third immortal realm powerhouse completely abandoned its composure and dignity. Perched atop the creature's back, the fire cloud marquis remained calm. His ancient, heavy saber unleashed thousands of yin ghost scriptures. In an instant, a sea of fiery clouds surged overhead as the fire cloud marquis swung his massive blade to parry Li Weiyi's peerless, direct sword strike. Crack! The yellow dragon sword cleaved through the fire cloud marquis's blade, a weapon weighing tens of thousands of jin. The sword radiance slashed downward, striking the marquis's scarlet armor. With a thunderous crash, the fire cloud marquis was hurled from the dragon elephant corpse marquis's back, crashing heavily into the ground dozens of meters away. Earth and stone erupted as the ground cratered deeply. A deep fissure split the marquis's armor, leaving him clutching only the broken hilt of his blade. A peak third immortal realm cultivator had been defeated in a single exchange. Meanwhile, the white mist dragon soul utterly dominated its clash with the dragon elephant corpse marquis, driving it back step by step with relentless attacks. Whoosh! Qingzhou surged forward, leaping like a beam of light behind the white mist dragon soul. She hung suspended in midair, unleashing the fourth layer of her perfected sword art Dao technique, the same technique she had used to slay a third immortal realm demon cultivator in the heavenly capital river Nether domain. Spiritual chi erupted from her body, transforming into a dazzling cloud glow that blanketed the heavens and earth for miles around. Her sword slashed down, cleaving through the air with a blade of distorted space and light that stretched from east to west. PFF'd. The white mist dragon soul was a split second too slow. The wind thunder it spat from its maw hadn't even reached Qingzhou when her sword chi sliced it in two, reducing it to wisps of soul mist. A deep ravine, several miles long, split the ground, its power capable of severing rivers. Meanwhile, Li Weiyi's third sword strike had shattered the fire cloud marquis's armor. Beneath the armor, a shallow sword mark etched across the golden skeleton, stretching from the right shoulder to the abdomen. At the point of impact, the bone began to hiss and burn. This was no ordinary flame cultivated by the skeleton itself. Rather, it was the yellow dragon sword's sword chi, imbued with the power to vanquish evil and demons, incinerating the skeletal body. Truly bizarre. What realm of cultivation does he possess? The fire cloud marquis's skull and fiery double pupils flashed with terror. Abandoning all will to fight Li Weiyi, he wrapped his legs in crimson flames and fled. He needed to refine the sword chi that had invaded his bones first. Li Weiyi ignored him, employing his body technique to rush toward the jade boat. Out of the corner of his eye, he glanced at Qingzhou, who was still pursuing him. He couldn't help but wonder why Qingzhou's earlier sword strike had targeted the white mist dragon soul instead of him. Had the strike been aimed at him, Li Weiyi would have had no chance to wound the fire cloud marquis, and might even have been injured in the crossfire between the two powerful opponents. He refused to believe that Qingzhou's body technique was too slow to evade the dragon soul's attack. In truth, Li Weiyi was underestimating himself. The Taiyan sect had long analyzed Li Weiyi's information and discovered that since entering the Void Ruins ancient kingdom, he had yet to unleash any of his trump card killing techniques. In other words, with most martial mystic cultivators having already exhausted their trump cards, Li Weiyi had become exceptionally dangerous. Qingzhou never intended to corner Li Weiyi. Instead, she planned to slowly wear him down. In her view, Li Weiyi's prolonged use of the jade boat had severely depleted his spiritual chi. After activating the Heavenly Emperor's dragon soul once, he must have very little spiritual chi remaining. Once that dragon soul was shattered, Li Weiyi wouldn't be able to summon another one for quite some time. After that, all she needed to do was advance when the enemy retreats, and pursue when they flee. Xiao Li, you're truly remarkable. Wounding a third immortal realm peak bone marquis with just 2 sword strikes, even I would struggle to achieve that. If you were to cultivate in the Void Ruins ancient kingdom for another 6, 7, or 8 years, what would become of us? Qingzhao's coquettish voice purred in his ear, her tone laced with amusement, while her figure remained dozens of feet away. I can't allow Sister Qing to underestimate herself like that. My dragon soul, which possesses the combat power of a third immortal realm peak cultivator, was shattered by a single strike from you. You're the truly formidable one here, Li Weiyi flattered her. Earlier, Li Weiyi's focus had been entirely on dealing with the fire cloud marquis, giving Qingzhou the opening she needed. Had he been fully focused on controlling the dragon soul, the outcome would have been entirely different. Fighting 2 opponents simultaneously inevitably meant dividing his attention. Ahead. Boom. Bai Chuan stood amidst the swirling sand, his body riddled with old and fresh wounds, his robe stained crimson with blood, as if he had just been released from the rack. Oblivious to the pain, he channeled a pillar of spiritual qi with one hand, manipulating the yin-yang gong to clash fiercely against the purple heaven thunder seal emanating from the jade boat. Myriad inscriptions artifacts clashed. The martial mystic qi and scripture unleashed by the two spiritual artifacts were so potent that ordinary immortal realm martial mystic cultivators dared not approach. Li Wei halted 100 zhong from the jade boat, activating his spiritual light body shield to withstand the myriad inscriptions artifacts' residual force. His gaze locked onto Bai Chuan in the distance. Their eyes met. It's Jingjun. Li Wei recognized the familiar glint in Bai Chuan's eyes, the same glint he had seen in the eyes of Tu Miango and Xu Daoqing, confirming his suspicion. In an instant, his mind pieced together the events that had befallen Bai Chuan in recent times. During the battle in the Fanyi Valley Nether Domain, Bai Chuan had likely been captured alive by the Taiyan sect and subjected to relentless torture. Logically, such a valuable hostage, worth a fortune and capable of being used for negotiations with the Bai clan, would never have been handed over to Jingjun for soul devour and possession by Chu Yudian. Unless Jingjun could offer a more valuable bargaining chip. Li Wei was undoubtedly that chip. Jingjun would naturally find a way to convince Chu Yudian that Li Wei was more valuable than Bai Chuan. Li Wei, we meet again. A sly smile played on Bai Chuan's lips, a glint of cunning in his eyes. Simultaneously manipulating the yin-yang gong with spiritual qi, he drew two large black flags, one in each hand. With a serpentine body technique, he dodged the thunder and lightning unleashed by the purple heaven thunder seal and charged toward the jade boat. Jingzhen's possession of Bai Chuan's body had caught Li Wei completely off guard. This meant the Taiyan sect had gained another true disciple-level powerhouse. To put this into perspective, Mo Duanfeng could effortlessly defeat top experts at the peak of the third immortal realm, like Xu Daoqing, even without using his blade. The sheer disparity in power was staggering. Bai Chuan was undoubtedly no weaker than Mo Duanfeng. The Jade Boat, originally the governor's travel vessel from the Lingxiao realm a millennium ago, could unleash formidable defensive capabilities when Qing Zijin channeled immortal spiritual qi from the great immortal battle corpse puppet into its core. Li Wei knew he stood no chance against Jingjun, who now possessed Bai Chuan's body. He couldn't hold out for long. Only one option remained. Jingjun and Qingzhao both assumed Li Wei would be frantic, recklessly charging toward the jade boat to intercept them. This was exactly what they wanted. Their greatest fear was that Li Wei would activate the governor's robe and flee alone, making interception and pursuit exponentially more difficult. To their surprise, Li Wei neither fled nor charged toward the jade boat. Instead, he suddenly turned and, with lightning speed, confronted Qingzhao, who was pursuing him from behind. You're still after me. You just won't give up, will you? Qingzhao taunted with a smile, revealing Li Wei's true intention. At that moment, Li Wei had exhausted much of his spiritual qi and couldn't replenish it from the heaven and earth spiritual qi. He was also deeply concerned about Qing Zijin, who could be captured by Jingjun at any moment. Qingzhao, on the other hand, was at her peak, enjoying both the opportune timing and the advantageous terrain. Moreover, a large force was rapidly approaching, giving her the option to advance or retreat as she pleased. Given this stark imbalance of power, Qingzhao found it utterly laughable that Li Wei still dared to think he could turn the tables by capturing her. 10,000 miles of morning glow. Qingzhao stood proudly, sword in hand, and unleashed her most powerful Dao technique. Within a radius of several miles, spiritual qi ignited like the dawn, spreading like heavenly fire across the plains. The radiance around her intensified, transforming into a crimson sun. Her figure dissolved completely into the blazing orb. Vajra's wrathful gaze. Li Wei activated the perfected fourth level of sixfold samsara burning karma technique. The immortal haze radiance within his divine gate erupted, merging with the four-colored spiritual light flames of the spirit realm to coalesce into a 30-foot tall Vajra Buddha shadow. Sixfold samsara burning karma technique was a great technique. But the psychic martial fusion of sixfold samsara burning karma technique was an imperial technique. The battle prowess Li Wei unleashed surpassed even the power of a fourth-level imperial technique. Boom. The Vajra Buddha shadow charged into the crimson dawn, colliding with the crimson sun and driving Qingzhao, trapped within, backward in a series of violent explosions. Despite Qingzhao's profound cultivation and sea-like reserves of spiritual qi, her face flushed crimson, then paled to white, then turned ashen. She retreated relentlessly, exhausting every technique she knew to withstand the Vajra Buddha shadow. The two supreme Dao techniques annihilated each other across the desolate plains. She stood in the heart of the sandstorm, her chest heaving as she gasped for breath. Then she laughed. Xiao Li, is that an imperial technique? It's powerful, I almost couldn't block it. But after that move, your spiritual qi is completely depleted. You can't even activate the governor's robe for spatial evasion. How do you plan to fight now? Qingzhao had long aimed to exhaust Li Wei's spiritual qi, and now that she had succeeded, her mood was naturally buoyant. Amidst the swirling sand, four battle corpse puppets materialized, forming a semicircle around Qingzhao. Each held a spiritual artifact battle weapon. Li Wei stood behind 2/6 Immortal Realm desiccated corpses, positioning himself directly in Qingzhao's line of sight. His expression was grave as he scattered a crimson spray of blood from his left palm onto the 4 battle corpse puppets. I have one final move, Ancient Immortal Dragon Blood. I originally intended to use this against true disciple level experts, but now I'll have to use it on you first. The blood Li Wei scattered was, of course, not ancient immortal dragon blood, but his own blood, which he had collected long ago. Blood Awakening Corpse, the ancient rune, Lin, and puppet runes, when combined, these 3 elements unlock the puppet war corpse's ultimate state. This was the final Blood Awakening Corpse. Qingzhao's brows furrowed as she sensed 4 dangerous auras. The hollow eyes of the 4 battle corpse puppets now glowed with intelligence, radiating the aura of great immortal. Spiritual qi surged through their bodies, converging into the war weapons in their hands. The 4,000 inscriptions artifact war weapons had been obtained by Li Wei after slaying the fallen spirit marquis, each of considerable quality. Fueled by the immortal spiritual qi, dense scriptures erupted from their surfaces. What secret technique is this now? Kid, your origins are far too mysterious. Qingzhao's expression shifted abruptly as she realized her grave mistake in underestimating her opponent. She shouldn't have allowed Li Wei to get close enough to deploy the corpses, or she wouldn't have found herself surrounded in her weakened state after unleashing her most powerful Dao technique. Wind surged beneath her feet as she immediately activated his body technique, attempting a swift escape. However, having just executed 10,000 miles of morning glow, her condition hadn't fully recovered, severely hindering her speed. The 2/7 Immortal Realm battle corpse puppets flanking her, their bodies enveloped in spiritual qi, intercepted her with a speed slightly exceeding her own. Meanwhile, the 2/6 Immortal Realm battle corpse puppets charged head-on, each raising their long halberds in a coordinated strike, one thrusting forward, the other cleaving downward. After being awakened, each of the 4 battle corpse puppets possessed combat power comparable to Qingzhao's. The 2/7 Immortal Realm puppets were even slightly stronger. Unfortunately, this state was short-lived and couldn't be prepared in advance. Qingzhao snorted softly and immediately threw out 3 corpse robes. Using the 3 ghost spirit slaves within the robes, she defended against the 4 corpses' coordinated attack. Meanwhile, on the other side, Qing Zijin was panicked and desperate. Unable to stop Jingzhen's approach, she couldn't even catch a glimpse of his movements. The gap in their cultivation was simply too vast. Boom. Jingzhen closed the distance, lunging forward with a sweeping arm. His battle flag, wielded like a club, struck the jade boat, sending it tumbling through the air. The formation enveloping the boat flickered violently. The jade boat crashed to the ground, continuing to roll. Inside, Qing Zijin and the 13 battle corpse puppets struggled to maintain their footing. A powerful shockwave rippled through the jade boat, striking her like a heavy hammer. PFF'd. With Qing Zijin's cultivation at the Dao Seed Realm, third heaven, her physical body couldn't withstand the force. Her internal organs ruptured instantly, and she spat out a mouthful of blood. Yet Qing Zijin stubbornly endured, unwavering in her faith in Li Wei's character. She knew he wouldn't abandon her. If she could just hold out a little longer until he captured Qingzhao, even Jingzhen, with all his might, would have no choice but to retreat with his forces. Boom. The battle flags crashed down relentlessly. Qing Zijin could no longer control the purple heaven thunder seal, spitting out mouthful after mouthful of blood. Jingzhen planted his twin flags into the ground, retrieved the yin-yang gong, and held it aloft. Using the gong as a hammer, he slammed it heavily against the bottom of the overturned jade boat. Clang. The gong's thunderous resonance shook the vessel. Inside, Qing Zijin bled from all 7 orifices, losing consciousness completely. She collapsed to the ground, limp as mud. Without the spiritual light controlling them, the 13 battle corpse puppets inside the boat instantly froze into lifeless corpses. Jingzhen leapt into the air, stomped on the jade boat that had been flung skyward, and forced it back to the ground. He prepared to pilot the vessel toward Li Wei and Qingzhao's battlefield, ready to claim the final fruits of victory. Then he looked up. What he saw left him utterly stunned. Qingzhao, like a puppet drained of all spirit and strength, was being held by the nape of her neck by Li Wei. Li Wei burst through the billowing dust, rushing toward Jingzhen at breakneck speed. 4 battle corpse puppets wielding spiritual artifacts followed closely behind. The 3 corpse robes, along with the ghost spirit slaves within them, had been torn to shreds, their souls scattered and dissipated. Blank. End of chapter. Subscribe to the MTL World at Malworld 1 YouTube channel. Novel. The Primordial Law. Volume 6, Battle for the True Inheritance. Chapter 64, 605, Lakeside Reunion. 64th of Volume 6. Translator, Shadow Knight AK. Editor, Shadow Knight AK. After refining the sword chi that had invaded his body, the Fire Cloud Marquis rode his dragon elephant corpse Marquis to the scene, only to be stunned by what he saw. It was Qingzhao. Who else but a true disciple of the ancient sect or a heavenly emperor's disciple from the third immortal realm could defeat her? Given Qingzhao's mastery of movement techniques and Dao techniques, killing her would be doubly difficult. Capturing her alive would be exponentially harder. Seeing the jade boat breached, Li Wei's eyes narrowed, his brow furrowing. Realizing he had arrived too late, he halted 100 zhang away. This was unavoidable, the plan had always carried the risk of failure. Recovering from his shock, Jingjun immediately lifted Qing Zijin from the jade boat. With a flick of his finger, he sealed her with spiritual qi. Qing Zijin's veil had long since fallen away, revealing a face as pale as paper, blood streaming from her 7 orifices. She faintly regained consciousness, her voice a mere whisper, "Run. When you reach the 3rd immortal realm, avenge me." Ah! Fresh blood spilled from her lips, silencing her. Dark clouds swirled around them as more fallen spirit marquises converged, their roars of fury echoing as they encircled Li Wei. Holding the purple heaven thunder seal aloft, Jingjun exuded by Chuan's noble and elegant aura. He smiled. "You deliberately let Qingzhao lure me away, making me believe you had fallen into my trap. This focused my efforts on attacking the jade boat. By first wounding the fire cloud marquis and forcing him to focus on self-preservation, you created the opportunity to face Qingzhao alone. You exhausted your spiritual qi, activated your dragon soul, and unleashed a great technique, leading Qingzhao to completely underestimate you and seize the opportunity to drain your remaining energy. If Qing Zijin had held out just a moment longer until you arrived, I might have truly been at your mercy. After all, Qingzhao is the true disciple's woman. If anything happened to her, I couldn't bear the consequences. But there are no ifs. It seems of one. Li Wei surveyed the formidable enemies surrounding him, fearless and undaunted. You think you can control me? Jingjun replied confidently, you're a sentinel spirit army soldier. You have a duty to uphold. You wouldn't stand by and watch Qing Zijin suffer. There's no need to escalate things this far, it's beneath your dignity. Release Qingzhao, and I'll release Qing Zijin. Then we can settle this with a fair duel. If you defeat me, I'll let you leave. If you're being this naive, or if you think I'm that naive, there's no point in continuing this negotiation, Li Wei retorted. Captain, Li Wei said, I've exhausted my spiritual qi. I'm sorry, I can't save you. To prevent you from falling into the hands of these fiends and suffering humiliation, I have no choice but to use the Grand Palace Master's great talisman of slaughter to kill Jingjun. You'll likely die under the talisman's power as well. Don't blame me. I'll avenge you in the future. Jingjun didn't believe Li Wei's threats were entirely empty. He raised Qing Zijin as a shield. Li Wei, why do you think the true disciple hasn't come personally? If you dare use your trump card, I guarantee you won't escape. With Qingzhao in my grasp, who dares stop me? Li Wei was confident Jingjun wouldn't kill Qing Zijin. Having accurately gauged Jingzhen's mindset, he held a slight advantage in this negotiation. Earlier, on the mountain ridge, Jingjun had confessed his love to Qing Zijin. He must have had ulterior motives, how could he possibly kill her so easily? Qingzhao, with over a dozen broken bones and her spiritual qi sealed by Li Wei, was now critically weakened. You too. Stop posturing. Li Wei, state your terms. Sister Qing is always so straightforward. But I fear Jingjun won't agree to my conditions. And what if he disregards your life and goes back on his word? Li Wei asked. Though Qingzhao loathed Li Wei, survival came first. If I die because of him, someone will make him pay. And I'm not just talking about true disciple Chu. Li Wei turned to Jingjun, did you hear that? Jingjun stared intently at Li Wei, waiting to see what trick he would pull next. Li Wei conjured death spirit fire at his fingertips and plunged it into Qingzhao's body. Now we can exchange hostages. That includes the purple cloud thunder seal jade boat and the 13 battle corpse puppets. Jingjun sneered, you've planted death spirit fire in the Chen envoy's body. You could kill her with a thought. What's the point of an exchange? You underestimate Sister Qing's cultivation. With my current psychic power, the death spirit fire I planted can be resisted if she dispels the seal. If you assist her, she can refine it within 15 minutes. That's all the time I need to escape your encirclement, Li Wei countered. Feeling the intensity of the death spirit fire within her, Qingzhao weakly urged, agree to his terms. This boy has become a threat, Jingjun said, if he escapes now, he'll cause endless trouble later. If you push him to the brink, you'll doom me too, Qingzhao warned, if I die, you won't fare any better. She feared Jingjun might disregard her life, especially given his desire for the myriad inscriptions artifact in Qing Zijin. With the added merit of killing Li Wei, Jingjun might make any choice. Jingjun pondered for a moment. The Chen envoy's recklessness led to our failure. You must bear full responsibility. Li Wei, let's release our hostages simultaneously. Bang! He hurled Qing Zijin several dozen feet away. Qing Zijin crashed to the ground, groaning in pain. Li Wei similarly flung Qingzhao aside, his gaze fixed on Jingjun. Place the purple heaven thunder seal on the jade boat and retreat 3 miles. Jingjun placed the purple heaven thunder seal on the bow of the jade boat and jumped off, but instead of retreating 3 miles, he only took 3 steps back. With his left hand concealed behind his back, he secretly channeled spiritual qi into the yin-yang gong. Li Wei unleashed spiritual light, enveloping the jade boat and Qing Zijin, and abruptly yanked them back. Jingjun countered with a surge of spiritual qi, sweeping Qingzhao away. After storing the jade boat and all the battle corpse puppets in his boundary pouch, Li Wei immediately activated the divine swiftness talisman he had affixed to his inner robes, transforming into a streak of talisman light and darting away. Simultaneously, Li Wei mentally triggered the death spirit fire within Qingzhao's body. Whoosh! Whoosh! Jingzhen's right hand blurred into motion, striking all 9 of Qingzhao's 9 springs acupoints in rapid succession, dispelling the seals binding her. However, contrary to Li Wei's expectations, Jingjun didn't help Qingzhao refine the death spirit fire within her. Instead, he immediately struck the yin-yang gong, sending a sonic blast hurtling toward the fleeing Li Wei. Chen envoy, Jingjun called out, Li Wei is trying to use the death spirit fire in your body to restrain me. If I fall for his trick, the Tai Yin sect will suffer a crushing defeat today and become a laughingstock to the world. Jingjun activated his movement Dao technique and pursued Li Wei. All the fallen spirit marquises unleashed their spiritual artifacts and Dao techniques at the fleeing pair. Whoosh! Li Wei activated his governor's official robe, carrying Qing Zijin as they vanished into a purple mist light cluster, teleporting over 10 miles away. The immortal haze pure radiance qi had indeed been completely depleted. But the liquid qi within his divine pivot remained. Boom! The yin-yang gong struck the location where the purple mist light cluster had been, shattering the ground and leveling the surrounding hills. Still has spiritual qi to use. Jingjun fully unleashed his Dao heart manifestation, enveloping Li Wei from over 10 miles away. He roared, split up and pursue. Use long-range spiritual artifact attacks. Target Qing Zijin with intent attacks. Don't give him another chance to use space evasion. Li Wei summoned the Fusong Divine Tree Light Shadow, enveloping himself and Qing Zijin to block the incoming intent attacks from behind. Qing Zijin, clinging to his back, murmured with glazed eyes, "Are you an idiot? Do you really think Jingjun cares about Qingzhao's life or death? All he cares about is clearing his own name. Once he dispels Qingzhao's seal, even if Qingzhao dies under the death spirit fire, it will be your fault, not his. If the captain sees the Tai Yin sect's selfishness while our sentinel spirit army comrades risk their lives to save you, then everything will have been worth it," Li Wei replied. Qing Zijin, furious, raised her soft, weak hand and gently punched him. After I was almost moved to tears. You still doubt me? Do I have to tear my heart out to prove myself to you? Unseen by Li Wei, Qing Zijin rested her cheek against his neck, her gaze darkening with contemplation. Jingjun is catching up again, Li Wei said, try activating the psychic power star on your wrist. It might scare him off. He's too far away, and he has a physical body now. I'll try. Qing Zijin's brow flickered with spiritual light. Before she could unleash it, the ground beside them erupted with a thunderous roar. A masked figure in black robes shot up from the depths. His voice rasped, "Go on ahead. Leave everything to me." The black-robed figure was tall and imposing, with a broad chest and long arms. Beneath the mask, a pair of tiger-like eyes burned with battle lust, fixed on the yin-yang gong hurtling toward them from miles away. Around the yin-yang gong, tens of thousands of scriptures condensed into a swirling cloud, radiating immense power. The air within miles trembled violently. The black-robed figure neither flinched nor dodged. He crouched slightly, spreading his arms wide. From his ancestral field surged torrents of immortal sutra scriptures and spiritual qi, coalescing into a fifth-layer body-protecting Dao technique. A radiant divine pagoda of light enveloped his body. Boom! The yin-yang gong struck the divine pagoda's light shadow, causing the earth to tremble and ripples of energy to spread in all directions. The divine pagoda's light shadow shattered, unable to withstand the myriad inscriptions artifacts' unleashed origin power. However, most of the myriad inscriptions artifacts' power was dispelled. The black-robed figure seized the opportunity, extending a metal gauntleted hand to grab the yin-yang gong. He retreated dozens of yards before stabilizing his stance, glancing at Bai Chuan, who was approaching with a torrent of sword qi. Tears of unbearable anguish welled in his eyes. Clenching his left fist, he unleashed a punch that detonated the surrounding air with a thunderclap, annihilating all the incoming sword qi. Bai Chuan was sent flying backward. You've only just undergone soul-devouring possession and haven't even familiarized yourself with this physical body. Your combat power is still far from its peak. Do the Great Void Clan think they can do as they please? You're courting death. Void-piercing profound light. The black-robed figure released his battle intent, which contained a black profound light specifically designed to counter the Great Void Clan, capable of melting their souls. Instantly, the surrounding world plunged into darkness so complete that one couldn't see their own hand in front of their face. Upon witnessing this black profound light, Bai Chuan's expression twisted in horror as he immediately tried to flee. Boom. The black-robed figure pursued relentlessly, slamming both hands into the ground. The earth erupted in chaos, unleashing countless blades of qi. These blades of qi fused with mud and dust, solidifying into stone swords that sent, by Xuan, and the dozen fallen spirit marquises trailing behind him flying backward. Carrying Qing Zijin on his back, Li Wei fled swiftly, covering 100 miles in a flash. Qing Zijin was incredulous, to single-handedly hold off all those pursuers. Who is this person? Li Wei continued his frantic escape, enveloped in talisman light. He chuckled bitterly. Under the great immortal, there are only a handful of experts of this caliber. Who else could it be but Mo Duanfeng? Qing Zijin was astonished. Why would he conceal his face, alter his voice, and even change the attributes of his spiritual qi? In this world, some people value their reputation and dignity more than their own lives, Li Wei replied. Before killing Chu Yutian, he probably felt he couldn't face the Shaoyang division or live up to the heavenly emperor's praise. Li Wei added, those who join the Sentinel Spirit Army, aside from the Tai Yin sect spies, may have their flaws, but they all possess a strong sense of justice and responsibility. After covering 1,000 miles, the divine swiftness talisman's energy depleted, shattering into fragments. Standing on a grassy hillside, Li Wei gazed down at the vast, lake-like expanse that stretched before him. Under the moonlight, the lake shimmered with a milky, pearlescent mist. Amidst this vast, misty expanse, a colossal spiritual artifact warship, hundreds of meters long, sailed forth with sails billowing, its speed rivaling an arrow's flight. Wenren Tinghai, the Demon Kingdom's master of intelligence, stood gracefully on the deck, gazing at Li Wei on the shore. A sinister smile curled his lips. Brother Wei, Tinghai has been waiting long for you. Since our parting in the East Sea, I never imagined you would rise to such heights. Dare you board my ship, reminisce, and share a drink? Li Wei's heart sank like a stone. His spiritual qi and liquid qi were both nearly depleted. As he reached for his second divine swiftness talisman, intending to escape, armored figures erupted from the earth, surrounding him and Qing Zijin. Li Wei burst into laughter. I've heard you serve the Demon Kingdom Crown Prince, Brother Tinghai. Do you carry any of His Highness's heaven-defying Dao techniques? Wenren Tinghai's smile vanished. If you can unleash Yu Yaozi's ultimate techniques, I can unleash the Crown Prince's divine powers. Whether we clash in a life or death battle or sit down to share a cup of warm, fine wine rests entirely on your decision, Brother Wei. Since there's fine wine, why not invite the entire Shaoyang division to join us? Tang Wanzhou's voice echoed across the lake. Whoosh! A sword beam sliced through the air, arcing across the boundless lake surface to land atop the mast of the spiritual artifact warship. There, it transformed into Tang Wanzhou's strikingly upright figure, her dark robes billowing ominously and her eyes gleaming like lightning. The overwhelming qi field of her third immortal realm cultivation pressed down on Wenren Tinghai below, like a colossal boulder weighing on the heads of all the Demon Kingdom martial mystic cultivators aboard the ship, making it difficult to breathe. On the lake's surface, Nangong rode a mythical beast with a dragon's head and a deer's body, holding a jade flute. Bathed in holy light, she was surrounded by countless white birds, appearing like a celestial fairy emerging from the misty waters. The wine he's found must be different from anyone else's, Zhao Tang remarked with a smile as he and Yan Zhiro appeared on the shore. They strode past the Demon Kingdom's immortal realm martial mystic cultivators to greet Li Wei and Qing Zijin. Blank. End of chapter. Subscribe to the MTL World at Malworld 1 YouTube channel.